Congratulations to Tyler Brooks Consulting for securing our regional contract. My boss said it like he was proud of himself. The conference room clapped. I stopped breathing. Tyler Brooks, my brother. And thanks to Madeline, my boss added with a light laugh, for finally getting her family's finances in order so this partnership could happen. More laughter. My ears rang so loud I barely heard the rest. I had not told anyone about my finances. Not one person at work knew how much I had saved. Not even my best friend. At 8:14 that morning, 3 transfers drained my account. $312,000. I stared at the presentation screen. Tyler's company logo flashed across it. Clean. Professional. My hands tightened around my notebook until my knuckles hurt. My boss winked at me like we shared a secret. I forced my lips into something that looked like a smile. But inside everything was spinning. My savings disappeared. My brother won a major contract. And somehow, my boss thought I helped make it happen. What the hell just happened to me? My name was Madeline Carter. I was 32 years old. Operations coordinator at Weston Regional Supply for almost 7 years. I built my savings slowly. Babysitting when I was 16. Waitressing through college. Overtime shifts. No vacations. No new car. No fancy bags. Every dollar had a purpose. A condo deposit. $312,000 sat in that account yesterday. This morning it was 0. The transfer record showed 3 transactions at 8:14 a.m. Authorized user. Eleanor Carter. My mother. The account had been opened when I was 16. Custodial account. She was listed as co-signer. When I turned 18 I kept using it. I never removed her name. Why would I? She was my mother. She always said she was proud of how careful I was with money. I stared at the banking app again in the stairwell. 3 outgoing transfers. Destination account. Tyler Brooks Consulting LLC. My chest felt tight. This was not a mistake. It was planned. And everyone upstairs just applauded it. I stepped deeper into the stairwell and called her. She answered on the first ring. "Oh, honey," she said softly, like I was the one who needed calming down. "You took my money." "It's for your brother," she replied. No hesitation. "This is bigger than you. Bigger than me." "That was my life savings," I said slowly. "You're stable, Madeline. You have a good job. Tyler needed help now. This contract changes everything." My heart pounded so hard I felt dizzy. "You didn't even ask. You would have said no." Silence filled the space between us. 'Cause she was right. "I'll pay you back," she added quickly. "When the business takes off." "It already did," I said. "Apparently." She didn't respond. "Mom. You told him to use my name, didn't you?" She sighed. "Don't make this ugly." Click. She hung up. I stared at my phone. She didn't deny it. When I walked back into the office, the whispers started. "Must be nice having family connections. Guess that's how Tyler got the contract." Kept my head down. My boss passed my desk and tapped it twice. "See. Supporting family pays off," he said with a grin. He nodded. He believed I funded Tyler willingly. He believed I backed the company. That meant something very important. He believed there was no conflict, which meant he did not expect scrutiny. I opened the vendor approval system and pulled up Tyler Brooks Consulting. Submission date. 2 weeks ago. Internal recommendation. Approved. Primary sponsor. Daniel Harris. My boss. Conflict of interest disclosure. Not attached. My stomach burned. He recommended my brother's brand new company without disclosure. And he believed I supported it financially. This wasn't just family drama. This was corporate risk. And risk meant compliance. Compliance meant paperwork. Paperwork never lied. I left early and drove straight to the bank. The branch manager, Mr. Langford, recognized me. I had been depositing money there for years. "I need certified copies of every document tied to my account," I said calmly. He looked concerned but nodded. We sat in his office. The account opening form from when I was 16. My mother listed as custodial cosigner. No removal form ever submitted. Legally, he explained gently, she still had authority. Legally. That word made my stomach twist. But, he added, large transfers like this usually raise red flags. Your mother provided ID and signed in person yesterday afternoon. Yesterday. She planned it. I asked for signature verification copies. He printed everything. I placed the papers into a folder slowly. Legal did not mean ethical. And ethics mattered at Weston Regional Supply. Especially when millions were involved. That night, I sat at my kitchen table and reviewed Tyler's company website. 3 months old. Minimal staff listed. No past contracts. Yet he secured a regional supply partnership worth millions in projected value. Impossible without internal support. I checked the state business registry. Tyler Brooks Consulting LLC formed 92 days ago. Registered address. My mother's house. I opened social media. He posted a photo last week. Big things coming. He already knew. This contract was arranged before my money moved. Which meant the transfer wasn't to win the contract. It was to support it. Or to cover something. I logged into our internal vendor system remotely. I had access to compliance records. Vendor approval packet attached. Financial stability section included a capital injection from private investor. Investor listed. Madeline Carter. Amount. $300,000. Voluntary investment. My vision blurred. I never signed anything. The next morning my boss avoided eye contact. But during the team meeting he praised Tyler again. Innovative leadership, he said. At lunch I passed his office and heard him on the phone. Yes, the family connection makes things smoother, he said quietly. I stopped walking. Family connection. I never endorsed Tyler. I never recommended him. I returned to my desk and reviewed the vendor approval timeline. Recommendations submitted before the contract announcement. Approval granted quickly. Financial backing confirmed. But I had not confirmed anything. I pulled the internal email thread. Daniel wrote, Madeline personally assured me her brother has liquidity. That was a lie. I never had that conversation. My heart stopped racing. Became steady. Cold. He used my name to speed approval. Tyler used my money to appear stable. My mother helped move the funds. 3 people. 1 paper trail. I downloaded every document connected to the approval. Vendor application. Financial projections. Conflict disclosure form. Blank. Daniel Harris had not disclosed a family link. He had also not disclosed that he invested privately. I didn't know that yet. But something felt wrong. The financial projection file showed strong first-quarter revenue. I checked the client list. 2 companies listed were inactive. 1 had dissolved last year. The numbers were inflated. Not slightly. Significantly. And the capital injection confirmation, attached, included a scanned signature. Supposedly mine. I zoomed in. The curve on the M was wrong. I always looped my M twice. This one was sharp. Copied. Forged. My hands stopped shaking. Now this was no longer just about money. This was fraud. My mother invited me to dinner that Sunday. I went. Tyler looked confident. New watch. New shoes. This is our big break, he said proudly. Mom believed in me. Mom smiled at him like he hung the moon. Kept my voice calm. How much runway do you actually have? He blinked. What? Cash flow, I clarified. After debt servicing. Silence. Mom shifted in her seat. Tyler finally said, Once payments start, we'll be fine. Payments are paused, I said quietly. Both of them stared at me. What do you mean paused? Mask. Compliance review, I replied. Tyler's jaw tightened. He knew. He knew the numbers didn't add up. You wouldn't sabotage me, he said softly. I looked at him steadily. I didn't. But I would protect myself. The first invoice from Tyler's company arrived 2 days later. I reviewed it personally. 22% higher than projected cost. I checked line items. Heading: consulting hours exaggerated. Supply coordination fees duplicated. It wasn't an accident. It was deliberate. And I was the operations coordinator responsible for compliance review before payment release. He forgot that part. I documented everything. Screenshots, timestamps, internal policy references. I didn't confront him. Not yet. If I confronted him, he would adjust quietly. But if I documented consistently, the pattern would grow. Patterns triggered audits. Audits uncovered intent. Intent carried consequences. I forwarded the invoice to Daniel with a neutral note. Please confirm approval justification for variance. He approved it without correction. Strike 2. And now I was certain. This was bigger than family. This was corporate misconduct. And the paper trail had just begun. I did not sleep much that night. At 6:30 a.m., I was already at my desk. I reopened Tyler's invoice and compared it to the approved proposal. The numbers did not match. The consulting hours increased by almost a quarter. Administrative fees appeared twice under different labels. Travel costs were listed, but no travel had happened yet. This was not a rounding error. It was inflation. I pulled our company's vendor compliance policy. Section 4.2. Any variance above 10% required written justification and secondary approval. Tyler's invoice was 22% higher. Daniel had approved it without a note. I drafted a short internal memo documenting the discrepancy. I attached screenshots. I saved everything to a private compliance folder on the company server. Then I sent a calm follow-up email, requesting clarification on invoice variance per policy. No accusations, no emotion, just policy. By noon, Daniel still had not replied. But I noticed something else. The payment status changed from scheduled to on hold. Compliance had flagged it. The system was doing its job. Daniel called me into his office at 2 p.m. He closed the door. "You're being unusually strict," he said. "I'm following policy," I replied. He leaned back in his chair. "We can't delay strategic partners over minor paperwork." 22% is not minor, I said calmly. His jaw tightened. "You know how important this contract is." "Yes," I said. "That's why it has to be correct." He studied me like he was trying to measure how much I knew. "Are we good, Madeline?" he asked quietly. I met his eyes. "I'm doing my job." He dismissed me. When I returned to my desk, I documented the meeting. Summary. I added it to my folder. I also noticed something new in the vendor system. A private note attached to Tyler's account. High priority. Expedite payments. Added by Daniel. No explanation. That was not standard procedure. Strike 3. 2 weeks later, Daniel scheduled a performance discussion. The email subject line felt formal. I printed my documentation before walking into the meeting. He began with small talk. Then he shifted tone. "I've noticed a change in your attitude," he said. "You seem resistant." "Resistant to what?" "Yes. To collaboration." Kept my voice steady. "Clarifying invoices is part of my role." He sighed. "Sometimes leadership requires flexibility. Leadership also requires disclosure," I replied. His eyes sharpened. "Disclosure of what?" he asked. I placed one printed document on the table. Conflict of interest forms were not attached to Tyler Brooks Consulting's approval packet. He stared at the paper but did not touch it. "Are you accusing me of something?" he asked. "I'm asking whether disclosure was completed." The room felt very quiet. He stood up suddenly. "This conversation is over." I nodded and left. In the hallway my hands shook. But not from fear. From clarity. The next morning I requested a confidential meeting with HR. I did not go in angry. I went in prepared. I brought my folder. Invoice discrepancies. Approval timeline. conflict disclosure omission, email threads referencing family connection. I spoke slowly and factually. I believe there may be compliance risks tied to this vendor relationship, I said. Char asked questions. I answered without emotion. Do you believe there is fraud? One of them asked. I believe there are inconsistencies that require review, I replied. They requested copies of my documentation. I handed them over. They did not promise outcomes, but their expressions changed. By late afternoon I received confirmation. Corporate compliance would initiate a preliminary audit. Vendor payments were officially paused. Daniel did not speak to me the rest of the day. At 6 p.m. my phone rang. It was my mother. What did you do? She demanded. I followed policy, I said quietly. You're sabotaging your brother, my mother shouted. I'm protecting my job, I replied. Tyler grabbed the phone. You couldn't just talk to me, he said. I did, I answered. You didn't answer my questions. He went silent. Payments are paused, he finally said. Yes. That's going to hurt cash flow. Then your projections shouldn't have been inflated. He hung up. The next week, compliance requested access to Daniel's internal communications. They also requested financial backing documentation from Tyler's company. The office felt tense. Daniel stopped joking in meetings. He stopped mentioning Tyler's vision. One afternoon, compliance officers arrived in person. They requested hard copies of approval packets. I watched quietly from my desk. Tyler sent me a text. We need to talk. I did not respond. Paper trails were louder than conversations. The audit expanded faster than I expected. By the second week, compliance discovered something new. Daniel had invested privately in Tyler Brooks Consulting. Not through the company. Through a personal transfer. Undisclosed. The amount was significant. And he approved the contract shortly after. That was not just favoritism. That was a financial conflict. Corporate policy required disclosure of any personal investment tied to vendor relationships. He had not filed anything. HR placed him on administrative leave pending investigation. The office buzzed with rumors. No one knew the full story. But they knew something serious was happening. Tyler called me that night. You're ruining everything, he said. No, I replied calmly. You did. He asked if we could fix it quietly. There it was. Fix it quietly. Closed my eyes. This is bigger than quiet, I said. And I ended the call. 3 days later, Tyler showed up at my apartment. I almost did not open the door. But I did. Corporate policy required disclosure of any personal investment tied to vendor relationships. He had not filed anything. HR placed him on administrative leave pending investigation. The office buzzed with rumors. No one knew the full story. But they knew something serious was happening. Tyler called me that night. You're ruining everything, he said. No, I replied calmly. You did. He asked if we could fix it quietly. Closed my eyes. This is bigger than quiet, I said. And I ended the call. 3 days later, Tyler showed up at my apartment. I almost did not open the door. But I did. He looked tired. This went too far, he said. You forged my signature, I replied. He froze. How do you know that? Because it's not mine. He ran his hand through his hair. It was just paperwork. We needed proof of investment. You could have asked. You would have said no. The same words my mother used. That doesn't make it legal, I said. He stepped closer. If the company cancels this contract, I default on my loans. I looked at him steadily. You should have thought about that before using my name. He stared at me like I was someone new. Maybe I was. I opened the door wider. To leave, I clarified. He left without another word. Compliance called me in again. This time legal counsel joined. They showed me the investor declaration Tyler submitted. My name typed clearly. My signature scanned at the bottom. The forensic review confirmed it did not match my official HR file signature. Forgery. Legal asked if I wanted to press charges personally. I hesitated. Then I said, I want the record corrected. They assured me my employee file would reflect that I did not authorize the investment. Tyler's financial projections were also reviewed. 2 listed clients denied active contracts. Revenue was exaggerated. Debt levels were higher than disclosed. The capital injection from me was used to strengthen the appearance of stability. Without it, the company looked fragile. The audit report grew thicker. So did the consequences. I returned to the bank for certified documentation. I requested signature verification comparisons between my official signature and the forged investor document. The difference was clear. Mine looped softly. The forged one was sharp and rushed. The bank confirmed my mother authorized the transfer legally. But she did not sign any corporate investor declaration. That signature belonged to Tyler. I requested notarized copies of everything. If this moved to court, I wanted precision. Back at work, legal informed me Tyler's contract was terminated immediately. Payments canceled. Daniel remained on leave. The office felt quiet. People avoided my desk. Not because they blamed me. Because they realized something serious had unfolded. Paper trails did not shout. They revealed. And this one revealed everything. Corporate legal finalized the internal findings. Conflict of interest. Undisclosed personal investment. Invoice inflation. Forged investor declaration. Vendor misrepresentation. Daniel was formally terminated. Tyler's contract ended the same day. Legal informed Tyler that forgery could result in civil action. My name was officially cleared in a company-wide compliance update. No details shared. Just confirmation that the vendor relationship violated policy. I sat at my desk after the announcement. No applause this time. No jokes. Just silence. At 5:45 p.m., my mother called again. They're going to take his car, she said, crying. I listened quietly. For once, she did not defend him. For once, she did not call it bigger than me. It finally felt real to her. Consequences had arrived. And they were not loud. They were legal. Without the contract payments, Tyler's company did not last long. Within 2 weeks, creditors began calling him daily. His private lenders demanded updated financial statements. He could not provide stable numbers. The inflated projections were already exposed during the audit. One lender pulled out immediately. Another raised his interest rate. By the end of the month, Tyler missed a payment. Default notices followed. I did not celebrate. I watched from a distance. At work, the investigation report became final. Daniel's termination was confirmed internally. His company email was deactivated. His name was removed from leadership listings. The office moved forward like nothing had happened. But people treated me differently now. Not with gossip, with caution. They understood I had not funded Tyler. They understood I had been used. One evening my mother called again. They're going to repossess his car, she whispered. Closed my eyes. Consequences were not dramatic. They were steady. And they were real. My mother came to my apartment the next day. She did not call first. When I opened the door, she looked smaller somehow. No anger. No lectures. Just fear. I thought you'd be okay without it, she said quietly. That sentence hit harder than everything else. You never asked if I would be, I replied. She sat at my kitchen table. For the first time, she did not defend Tyler. He said he just needed support, she whispered. He needed honesty, I said. Tears filled her eyes. I didn't think it would turn into this. It turned into this because no one respected the truth. She looked at me for a long time. I always thought you were strong, she said. I am, I answered. That doesn't mean I don't matter. She had no reply. For once, the room stayed quiet. No excuses. Just reality. Tyler filed for bankruptcy 3 weeks later. It was not loud. No dramatic press. Just paperwork. Creditors claimed remaining assets. His office lease ended early. Equipment was repossessed. The forged document remained part of the legal record. Corporate legal chose civil resolution instead of criminal charges, but the finding stayed documented. Daniel attempted to appeal his termination. Failed. Conflict of interest and non-disclosure were clear violations. His professional reputation suffered quietly. Industry circles were small. Word traveled. At work, HR finalized the compliance restructuring. They updated vendor approval policies. Stricter oversight. Mandatory dual review for internal referrals. My name was cleared completely in writing. No internal note of involvement. No suspicion attached. Just facts. I did not need revenge. The system corrected itself. Paper trails did what emotions could not. They told the truth. And the truth carried weight. Legal mediation followed. Because Daniel's misconduct directly impacted my reputation and finances, corporate insurance became involved. Tyler's bankruptcy trustee liquidated remaining assets. My mother signed a repayment agreement for part of the transferred funds. Did not restore everything, but it restored most. Enough for a condo deposit. Enough for peace. HR requested a private meeting. They thanked me for my professionalism during the audit. Then they surprised me. They offered me Daniel's former position. Operations director. Higher salary. Leadership role. I considered it carefully. But I declined. I prefer stability, I said. And it was true. I did not want power tied to politics. I wanted clean work. Clean systems. Clean lines. HR respected my decision. Sometimes winning is not climbing higher. Sometimes it is choosing calm. 6 months later, I stood on the balcony of my new condo. It was smaller than I once planned. But it was mine. Fully mine. My name alone on the title. My savings rebuilt with discipline and restitution. The air felt lighter. Tyler moved to another state to start over. We spoke occasionally. Carefully. My mother changed too. Not perfect, but quieter. More thoughtful. Work returned to normal. No whispers. No jokes about family connections. Just professionalism. I learned something through all of it. Favoritism feels powerful in the moment. Arrogance feels untouchable. Shortcuts feel smart. But truth is patient. Documentation is patient. Integrity is patient. I did not scream. I did not beg. I did not expose anyone publicly. Followed policy. Followed facts. And facts did the rest. When people underestimate quiet women with paperwork, they forget something important. We may wait, but we do not forget. And when the time comes, we stand up. With proof. And we win.